What's up guys, it's Bastian here coming at you with another Gundam War deck profile. Today's profile is a Neo Zeon deck that you probably wouldn't play unless you were introduced to the game perhaps. So this is a deck profile and maybe a series that I'm going to start here where I'm going to trickle in some other profiles into in the future where um, the emphasis is on introducing somebody to the game, getting used to the mechanics rather than making the most competitive, the most viable deck. Just kind of making something that's consistent enough to have fun with and get your grips with the game. So, without any further ado, let's look at our little deck profile here. So, the first thing that we'll start with is units. And what we kind of want to get out in turn 2 is a Denon Zone and or Gallus J's. More than one is not necessarily a bad thing. So both of these units are 2/02s. They come down on turn 2. They cost you 1. Denon Zone is a Black Army model. If you have a character with family designation in play, this actually becomes a 3/02. And the Gallows J is good because you can play this even if you've already played a unit this turn. So kind of works like quick, but it's not quick. There actually was, as far as I know, and I've been told this many times now, sort of like the last set of the game when the the Black Trinary Dom started to run away with their quick effects. There was a 1 per turn quick unit drop kind of rule change in the game. So you can still drop your unit, you can still drop a battle ship or a support as an additional card, and you can still drop a unit with quick, but you can only drop 1 quick unit per turn. You can also drop 1 during your opponent's turn. It's just to slow it down a little bit, because I think what Zeon was doing with the cross arm metal was, perhaps bringing out 2-3 extra units with quick a turn, which is it does break the game. It's not fun anymore. So ideally, you want to see at least one of these two in your opening hand. That shouldn't be that difficult with the mulligan that we play with, and that's the Dragon Ball Super mulligan, where you obviously drop to 6, look at what you want to keep, you shuffle the rest back into your deck and draw back up to 6. So that gives you a bit of kind of like a hand customization to make sure that the game is not just about, well, okay, I've had a bad hand, I got no generations, you win the game, because it was often like this, as I'm told, back in the days. So these are sort of the head units that want to lead the teams initially, early game. And so, of course, we need support for these guys. So we're running the entire Black Army here. We have Denange, which is a 2/2/1. So worst case scenario, yes, he can be a unit on his own, a bit more expensive, but is that 2 shooting point value that we're looking for. Because then you can do this, for example, and turn 3 when these guys on tap, because you could play this, then you could still play Gallows J. When these guys on tap, then you can swing in for 4 immediately, which is not too bad actually. Special shield, alright. If you have a character with family designation in play, it actually becomes a 2/2/2, which is good. It's very good. And then the third kind of turn 2 support, well, I'd say no, fourth turn 2, the second support is Evil S. It's a 1/1/2 only, but it does cost you only 1 to play it. And in the resolution step, you can pay 1. When this card is in the squad as a character card with a family designation, remove 2 cards of your choice from your opponent's junkyard from gameplay. Particularly good against brown, actually, interestingly enough. Brown and white, even. White has, of course, also cards to bring stuff back from their junkyard, and even blue. Even blue does. But Evil S is a less favorable model to Denange. So we ideally want to see a Gallus J and a Denange in our opening hand. This would be the ideal start, because then that means turn 3 we can swing in for 4. Okay, let's move on to turn 3 then, and we don't really have many more units left, but we're running 2 copies of Zissa, and it just gives us a 2 support value, again 2 shooting point value I meant to say. So that can be good when perhaps you've seen this on turn 2. Okay, turn 3 you can drop this. It's gonna take a while for that to untap, but then you know if you got that, then turn 4 you will be able to swing in for 6, which is, it's okay. You know, if you're getting used to the game and you just want to see how these things work, it's a nice little introduction to it. And then just to make sure that we have some draw power, we also have Gyaradoga here. Kind of want to be on the front of the team, but that one shooting point can be good enough just to make him a support unit as well. But again, it's just something, I think every unit that can replace itself with is worthwhile playing, and it just gives a little bit of a flavor how to kind of run this game. Also, surprisingly, this is actually one of the better units in red, but you don't really see these units run that often, so I think it's really good to put a little bit of a limelight on them. Now we're talking about family designation, and the only card that we have access to in red that has the family designation is Nadia Rona. Now, Nadia Rona doesn't really add much to the game besides the fact that it actually enables these cards to be a little bit better. If you do come across another character with a family designation, you can pay 0 and negate the family designation of a character card until the end of the turn. That is an auto-A effect, so that means you can do it anytime, and your opponent can't really cut into it either. But that's about it. It is by far the most obnoxious enabler because it doesn't do anything. It just gives you that little family there, and you've gone through the erratas, everything. We don't have any other characters with family on them, so that's the one we have to settle for. But we can give it a bit of a boost with Bubbles. Bubbles is a 1/1/1, so we ideally want Bubbles to be on one of the support units, ideally Denanger or Zissa, as I said before. In a battle phase we can pay 0 each. The unit card, this character card, is set on, gets -1 defense points until the end of the turn. Then one of the character cards with a family designation in the same squad as this card gets a +1 defense value until the end of the turn. So now Nadia does have the set on character effect. You don't really want to put her on Bubbles. You kind of want to put her on Rakan Dakharan, but we'll talk about it in a second. If that was the case, you can reduce the defense value of Bubbles' unit and give extra defense value to Nadia's unit. That is kind of like a thing you can do. Realistically, why we're running Bubbles is because he's a cheap turn 2 character that can come down early and kind of make sure that we have a bit of an extra beef on that. But kind of where the deck does shine a little bit is in case you get Rakan Dakharan down. He's a 2/1/1 addition to whatever unit you put him onto, and all your unit cards in the same squad as this card get assault. That includes the unit that he's on, so you can basically ensure that your opponent's not just gonna come in and chump block us. It's a bit of a trample basically. If you play Magic the Gathering, that's what assault is trample. So if we do manage to muster up a large enough team, let's not waste that. At least the assault will allow us to deal some battle damage to our opponent's nation pile. So this is it, and now we're going to have a look at the command cards, the operation cards, and then we get to our generators. Okay, bring it back in a shot. There you go. So first of all, 3 insides in the battlefield. I really like this card actually. You unfortunately can't use it before turn 3 unless you run some acceleration, because you can only play this during your reroll phase, which means you have to play 2. I don't know why I can't say play. Why I want to say pay the entire video, so apologies for that. You look at the top 6 cards of your nation pile, return them in any order to the nation pile. And remember, then you're going to draw 1. So you basically look at the top 6 cards of your deck. You do a scry 6 if you play Magic. You scry 6, and then because you must do this before you draw for your turn, you are going to draw up the top card. What I tend to often do is get the generations if I need one. Later game, I would get something like Gyaradoga. I would then put 2 cards that I don't want to have to pay for that 2 cost, and then the next card that I want to draw up would be my 4th card. I drew Gyaradoga, then I pay 2 cost, then I draw another one, so I can almost ensure that I get 2 cards that I specifically want to get out of insights in the battlefield. So it's really good to like kind of get you what you need early game. Also running 3 copies of Difference of Opinion. This is the sort of heal card for red. It's again just to introduce players to the fact of replenishing cards back into the nation pile. This has actually been errata. It's an absolute massacre to what they did with the text of this card. But basically, every iteration of Junkyard, replace it with discard pile, okay? So when you have more total generator power than your opponent, remove the same number of cards as your total generator power in their discard pile from gameplay. When you have less total generator powers than your opponent, move the same number of cards as your opponent's total generator power from your discard pile to the top of your nation pile. So we can remove cards from our opponent's discard pile from gameplay, which can be good, but we kind of want to go for the second one. We kind of want to keep ourselves on a fairly low amount of generators so we can replenish cards back into our deck. And the way we're going to do this is with 2 copies of Heavy Tex. Heavy Tex comes out on turn 3 if we obviously hit the curve on our generations, and at any point in time you can roll this card, destroy one of your generation cards to draw a card from the top of your discard pile. So this works really well with Difference of Opinion if you can keep yourself, because you're really only going to ever need to have 3 generations in play. There's no cards that will cost you more than 3. So as long as you're always sacking your 4th generation, you draw a card, you kind of move through your deck, and you're drawing from your discard pile as well, so you're not tapping into your nation pile. In the meantime, Difference of Opinion can also put cards from your discard pile back at the bottom of your deck, so you should be able to have some cards in your hand whilst also replenishing your deck. That combined with Rakan Dakharan's Assault gives you the gameplay, basically win through trample. This game is really not complicated in many ways. There are some cards that make the game very complicated, but generally speaking, the game is actually quite simple and straightforward. Just to finish off the commands, we of course have 3 copies of Order of Withdrawal. Possibly the best command card in red, actually, I'm going to say. You can use this in the defense step, yours or your opponent's, as a meta. Move one unique card to its owner's hand. So you're trying to get in for 4 damage or 6 damage, for example. You got your team lined up, but you don't have Rakan. Let's say you got this one up here, for example. Your opponent says, I'm going to send out a chump blocker. Okay, end of the defense step before we move to resolution. You can play Order of Withdrawal and move that unit back into your opponent's hand. Now you're going to be getting in for 4 damage unless they can quick a unit in. No, they can't, because they've already assigned their defender. So even if they do that, they won't be able to send it up. So that's it. That will allow you to hit him for 4 in this particular example. And then finally, just so we talked about the 2 Heavy Tex, we also have 3 copies of Internal Inquiry, which is an absolutely fantastic operation for red. Basically, with the Internal Inquiry in your starting hand, as long as you have at least 1 generator to play it, you're guaranteed to fix the cards that you're going to be drawing. Well, I don't say fix, but it gives you a scry. At any point in time, you can tap it and look at the top card of either player's nation pile that has been errated, and then you can return that to the top or the bottom of the nation pile. So early game, it can be really good to fix your cards. I often tend to go for extra generators if I see anything else, unless it's like really good. If you already have 2 generators and you see an insights in the battlefield, keep it, because then you can look at the top 6. But basically, it's all about, again, these 2 together will give you some flexibility in what you're going to draw into. And that's pretty good. That's why Red is a consistent color to play because of these cards, and you also have heavy text. You also have a bunch of other ways how you can draw cards, but these I had extras hanging around. And again, I didn't want to use the beaten path to a great extent. And then finally we have 12 generators. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 generators. So you only need to get up to 3. You need to have 3 in play. Any other ones will give you opportunity to draw more cards. Inquiry and Insight should allow you to fix roughly what you're going to be drawing. Difference of opinion will allow you to heal a little bit. Great combat trick there, and then we just got some okay units to play with. So again, remember, this is more of an introductory deck to the game, and should hopefully allow new players to just kind of get their grips with the game. I'll probably be looking at some other colors as well, but I just wanted to share this for now with you guys. If you haven't subbed yet, please do sub. It helps me a lot. Also like and leave a comment below as well, and we can discuss what you think of this deck. Besides, Bastian signing out. Peace.